Howdy, folks. I'm Royal Red Spotted Purple, regally ruling over ruthless rodents.
I'm Amber.
And here are more ruthless rodents for us to rule over, rule upon. We're starting our empire with small rodents that are very ruthless. So let's get started on that. All right, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for How I Responded to a Woman Telling Me That I Am Culturally Appropriating. So last week, it was Cultural Dress-Up Day at my college. Basically, it's an event with a mock fashion platform in the main hall where students can come into the college dressed in their traditional culture attire to celebrate diversity and inclusion. It was my second time coming to this event, as it's a yearly event, and both me and my friend were really excited. For this year, we thought that it would be fun to dress up in each other's clothes instead of our own. For what it's worth, I'm Chinese ethnically. My friend S, who is of Indian heritage, brought a beautiful pink and silver sari with gold jewelry, and I gave her a red and gold qipao to wear with some hair adornments. We got ready at her house before college, and then we walked to college together. On our way, we stopped at a coffee shop, and my friend went into the bathroom. I waited out for our drinks, and a group of women came in, and I could tell that they were whispering about me, as I could see them blatantly staring. Fair enough, I'm dressed unusually. One of them then comes over and asks me if I'm Indian. She looks Caucasian. I reply that I'm not. And then she asks if I think that it's okay that I'm culturally appropriating Indian culture. Now, I'm surprised because to me, cultural appropriation is when someone from outside of a culture dresses themselves up with an intention to mock or make fun of that culture, which I'm not. I am simply appreciating said culture, as my friend is with mine. I ask her if she thinks that it's okay for her as a white woman to go up to a person of color in public and tell them how they're allowed to dress. She looks shocked, tuts and rolls her eyes before going back to her friends, who all look a little embarrassed. My friend comes out of the bathroom and I hand her our drinks and tell her about the interaction on the walk to college. She thinks that it's hilarious. However, another friend said that it was rude the way that I responded, and it was unnecessarily hostile when I could have just explained about the event and that me and my friend what we were doing. So am I the jerk for how I responded? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, this woman was being, this woman had no idea what was going on and was just inserting herself into the situation. If she had taken the time to ask OP about, oh, hey, where'd you get this sari or something like that, then she could have had a cool story. But instead, she decided to just be like, you're culturally appropriating. It is not cultural appropriation when you are invited into a culture. It is, in fact, like OP was saying, a form of appreciation. Like OP and her friend are exchanging culturally significant items and learning to value each other's culture, and that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there certainly is like room for debate about what cultural appropriation is. And I mean, I'm kind of on the lesser end where I think that as long as you're being respectful of someone's culture and not just using it as a fashion statement, then that is a lot different, than just blatantly taking patterns or other stuff from a culture without any recognition of the fact that they're from that culture and just using it as a fashion statement, right? I mean, I think that that is a little bit of a different situation. Here, like what Amber said, OP was actually invited into this culture and to wear, this traditional garb, and they're also doing it for an event at a university where they can show this off. And so I would have a really hard time claiming that this was cultural appropriation on any level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of cultures out there that actually really like it when people dress like them and appreciate it, as long as they're being respectful about that culture and not using it to mock or ridicule that culture, right? And so there are going to be different cultures with different views on this, and I think that that's perfectly fine. I think that these people who approached OP were squarely in the wrong because they needed to mind their own business. Like, what was OP hurting, right? If OP was actually going out of their way to mock and ridicule or do something to make the culture look like punching down at the culture,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I could see them approaching them. But in this particular case, OP was getting drinks from a coffee shop. Hardly anything to raise the fuss about. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And alternative being 181 says, not the jerk, you were invited to wear those clothes. Also, a big aspect of cultural appropriation is in some response to imperialism of certain nations over others. Unless there is some history of China invading and exploiting India that I'm not familiar with, you are only engaging in a cultural exchange, not appropriation. And Opie replies, funnily enough, we are in the UK, so the irony of a white British woman lecturing me on respecting Indian culture is really diabolical. I mean, the Brits. I mean, not that we in the United States are
We
free
do not
or
have a
clear
moral high
or
ground
higher.
here.
Yeah, we don't have a moral high ground in the US here, but I mean, like, the British certainly don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a whole museum with every other culture stuff that they came and stole from.
Yeah.
Again, not that the United States doesn't, because we do. I mean, we do. I mean, I acknowledge that. And Dramatic Ant 9364 says, you responded appropriately. Did the group of women say anything to your Indian friend who was dressed in the chipao? These busybodies need to chill out. Were they culturally appropriating South American bean coffee that was served at the coffee shop? And Opie replies, they didn't say anything, but to be fair, they all came in when my friend was in the bathroom. It seemed to be only that one woman who had the issue. And some ingenuity, 54898 says, not the jerk, people shouldn't pester other people about how they're dressed. And Vegas, by the way of LA, says, in most cultures, wearing event-appropriate attire is considered cultural appreciation and not appropriation. And I have my towel, 42 says, exactly. My city is very diverse and includes a large Asian and East Asian population. It's not uncommon to see people at weddings from all backgrounds wearing traditional dress of the couple. I own a sari and a lehenga for this exact reason. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Saying Who every single time my wife refers to our adult child? Recently, I, a 59-year-old male, was in the car with my friend. We'll call him D. And I got on a phone call with my wife, a 63-year-old female. When I answered, the phone was already connected to the car, so my friend heard the conversation. At one point, though, my wife brought up our adult child, who is a transgender man. We'll call him H. He's in his 30s, and he's been out to both of us since he was 16. Yet, even now, she still misgenders him and still uses his dead name on purpose. I can see how much it breaks his heart, but every talk I tried to have with her became all about her and her feelings, often turning into heated arguments. I can't remember when I started doing this, but for a while, every single time she refers to our son as our daughter or calls him her, I respond with, who? I really don't know who you're talking about. I only know a son by the name of H, or something along those lines. I thought that eventually it would help to make it stick, as she claims that there's no malice behind her misgendering our son 14 years after he came out. But on this day, though, Dee asked me, why do I do it all the time, saying that I was being a bit of a jerk. I never thought about it that way until now, so I thought that I would finally make an account to post here and see what unbiased parties think. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, it's been 14 years. This is, at this point in time, it is intentional and malicious. She has no intention of ever respecting your son as he is. And if anything, I think you've been too easy on her. So.
Well, I mean, I think, again, like, pronouns and names, well, pronouns are just nicknames, right? When you think about it at the end of the day, when you call someone him or her or whatever, they are nicknames in order to help you communicate about that individual, right? And sometimes people don't like certain nicknames, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes people want to be called different nicknames. And that's really all pronouns mean. I know that there's like a big fuss right now about pronouns and all that kind of stuff, but to me, that's all it is. And I really feel sincere that you should call people by the names that they want to be called by. And if you don't like that, then maybe you can remove yourself from this person's life so you don't cause them undue stress. I think that you're right that maybe OP has been a little soft on their wife here, but again, like, it sounds like OP, it sounds like the wife has said that she's not doing it on purpose. And I mean, 14 years is a long time, right, to be kind of doing this not on purpose. At a certain point, I think OP needs to have a sit down and conversation with her and talk to her about this and how hurtful it is, right? And that might be better to do in somewhere like couples counseling, where they can have a honest and sincere conversation, where there's a third party who can moderate that conversation. I know that she's hurt, and this might be a situation where she feels bad because she wants their son to use the name that she gave them from birth or whatnot, right? The feminine name, the dead name. But she doesn't get to make that decision. Like, names are gifts, and you don't always have to accept gifts, right? You can change a name, and that's just really what it boils down to. There's lots of people who have changed their names for one reason or another throughout history, and no one seems to care. Like the Pope, for instance. Anytime we get a new Pope, they have a new name, and no one seems to bat an eye about calling the Pope by a new name, right? I mean, it's just like everyone just accepts that the Pope has suddenly decided that they are new name XYZ, right? And so I think that if you can respect calling the Pope by the name that they want to be called, then you can respect calling other people by the names that they want to be called.
Yeah, or, when people get married and change their names, if you can figure out, if you can remember someone's married name, it's not any harder to remember when someone changes their name for other reasons.
Yeah, exactly. I know the Pope was an extreme example. I mean, there are a lot of common day, everyday type of examples there. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Forcing My In-Laws to Use a Toilet Instead of Pee Jugs in My Home? My in-laws are visiting my wife and I this week. The trip was short notice, so they'll be staying at our home. Our guest bedroom that they'll be staying in is in the basement of our house. It's spacious, clean, and dry. The only issue is that it does not have a bathroom associated with it. You have to walk up the basement stairs and halfway across the house to get to the guest bathroom. Well, before arriving, my in-laws were complaining that it was far too far of a walk to get to the bathroom from the basement. We are offering them free lodging, so I figured that they would just have to deal with it. However, yesterday we got an unexpected Amazon package. My wife opened it and pulled out a strange plastic container. I joked that it looked like one of those medical devices to pee in. The joke was on me because it was exactly that. My in-laws had ordered a device for them to urinate into instead of going to the bathroom upstairs. I told my wife absolutely not, and that they had to use the toilet. My in-laws are very healthy and able-bodied people, and there's zero reason, other than laziness, for them to use a device like this. My in-laws arrived yesterday night, and we confronted them about their plan to use the pee jug. They joked about the device and said, what else were they supposed to do? Use a litter box? No, go to the upstairs and use the bathroom. Now they are complaining about having to go all the way upstairs, and I'm pretty sure that they are secretly using the jug. I'm going to flip out if I find that they are using it. Am I the jerk for asking them to use a toilet like a normal human being? Edit, since a lot of people are asking, no, they don't have any health issues. They are very fit and healthy. We have an open enough relationship that they would tell us if they did. We also offered for them to stay upstairs, but the rooms upstairs are more cramped and not as spacious. They opted to stay in the basement. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, they chose to stay in the basement for more space. They can walk upstairs to pee.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an unreasonable ask.
No, I don't think that this is an unreasonable ask. I think that they're being pretty unreasonable by demanding to use a pee jug, especially since if it spills or something like that.
Well, that's the thing is, like, if there's no sink in the basement anyway, like, they're going to have to walk up the stairs with the pee jug.
Yeah.
It doesn't really save them anything.
No, I mean, it just is going to change where they have to dump it out at, right? And what happens if they're carrying it up the stairs and then they accidentally drop it? I mean, that's going to make for a very unfun time for everyone involved. Or what happens if they just decide to leave it there like terrible guests?
Well, that was my big concern, is that Opie and his wife are going to be the ones who end up having to take care of this.
Like, and nobody wants to do that. That's not something that anyone wants to find. And that's really where I kind of stand on this one. I just don't understand why they're making such a big fuss out of this if they're able-bodied and they're healthy, right? Now, if there was like some kind of other issue, medical issue, where they just couldn't make it up the stairs, or they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to make it up the stairs in time, and they had this jug as like an emergency alternative, You know what? I mean, I can understand that. Like, emergency situations are emergency situations. Sometimes not everyone can hold it, right? But it doesn't seem like that's the case here. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care. Good luck. And Celtic Music Book says, and to up the cringe factor, there's no sink in the basement, so they aren't washing their hands after using the jug. You should have hidden the jug and told them that they can have it when they check out. And ZZ9ZA says, no, OP and their wife shouldn't be opening other people's deliveries. And OP replies, the package was addressed to my wife. And Extension Camel 3844 says, you're the jerk. I'm 55, 3 kids, hysterectomy, etc. And if I had to walk that far to a bathroom in the middle of the night, I would likely pee myself before I got there. How about you go to the basement bedroom for their visit so that they are closer to the bathroom? I mean, you're young, healthy, and able-bodied. No big deal, right? And OP replies, I offered to stay down there. I have slept in that room many nights. The upstairs bedrooms are more cramped, though, so they opted to stay downstairs. And Equivalent to 1 says, more info. Do either of the in-laws have mobility, blood pressure, or prostate issues? You say that they're healthy and able-bodied, but are they or do they wear Depends or panty liners for leaks and just don't tell you? I will say that my mother has a friend who finds any talk of GI or bathroom issues so gross that she can barely discuss her vast issues with her doctors. So unless you know her very well, most of the time she will admit to having some kind of reflux issue, which is only the tip of the iceberg. Getting up and immediately going up the stairs to use the facilities can be difficult for older folks. I'm not old, but even I have had issues navigating the stairs outside the other night because the dog needed to go out and I had about 1.5 hours of sleep. And OP replies, no, they are very healthy and they're in their early 60s. They love to exercise. We go on regular hikes and other strenuous activities with them. They themselves have admitted that they can easily make the trip upstairs. They just don't want to. So I think that kind of settles it. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. Amber, she has a joke. Amber doesn't have a joke.
I will in 1 second. I was unprepared. Why don't flightless birds go to college?
Well, flightless birds don't go to college because they go to universities instead.
Because
Oh, what were you going to say?
because they can't keep up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's College Colors Day and National Chop Suey Day.
Oh, so go find yourself some colorful college chop suey and eat it. And I have the special guest tea, some chocolate tea today. It's not bad. It's really not bad. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Fantastic Friday, folks. I hope your Friday is off to a fantastic start. And folks, we have a live stream coming up today. Can you believe it? I can't. It's just in a few hours. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please have it on something outrageous.
If you just don't feel like making it up the stairs to the bathroom, maybe take the smaller bedroom instead of resorting to a pee jug.
Sure. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.